trying to fill out all your roles, and obviously in this game we don't have a jungler, which can be very bad to not have a jungler, but there are some ways to remedy that fact. Also, in general, the way that our team plays, having a jungler can be interesting depending on champ choices because of the kind of champ choices that we tend to make. We tend to choose champs that have a pretty okay laning phase. You know, we don't choose a lot of people on our team don't really play super late game champs, for the most part. I think I play a couple of late game champs, but very rarely, except, you know, very rarely with this comp, mostly in solo queue. The other thing about your team that sort of matters as well is how expensive their builds are. And that only really matters based on role. You want to make sure that you have some people on your team that are going to be the guys that get most of the last hits. You know, they're your AD carries and whatever, and so they can kind of have them. They can have expensive builds and kind of do whatever. But you want to make sure that you don't have tons and tons of carries on your team that rely on getting lots and lots of last hits. Otherwise, you end up in this situation where, if they're item dependent, they're suddenly underpowered now and can't make up for certain things that are missing. Let's see, and so that pretty much covers the majority of team comp stuff. I guess I can break down the intricacies of it, like as far as picks go. Typically, right now, where the metagame sits as of recording this, you know, the EU meta is in your dual AP carries. Your US meta has a lot of roaming. You usually see like basically 3 solo lanes, a jungler, and a roamer. Your roamer will sometimes occasionally leech experience and gold a little bit, but rarely. They're mostly there to assist in ganks, and there are a couple of really good champs for roaming. That role is a role that at some point maybe I'll do a video where I actually showcase roaming. I don't get to roam very often. I usually play a lot more laning champs anyway, and so that's one of those things, and that's a role that you don't always need, as long as you've got pretty good ganks going and things like that. So that's also another factor for our team especially, is being able to pick champs that can gank if necessary. So for example, in this particular comp, we kind of have a very interesting setup going where we sort of defensively gank. What I basically mean by that is, we, you know, as Shen, I can ult on somebody when they jump, and by doing so, we can kill guys out who think that they have a chance of defeating our guy that's kind of suicide running in, when really he's not suiciding anymore. He's just setting up to get Shen ulted, and you'll see that happens in a lot of the games that I play as Shen. You'll see guys do those kinds of jumps. You don't see it as much in solo queue, just because it's a little bit risky to pull that in solo queue without a lot of communication between the two people. But yeah, that's pretty much the strategy there. Is you definitely want to have somebody that can gank for your team. You also want to make sure that if you absolutely have to, and this is kind of a weird suggestion, but if you absolutely have to, it's not so bad to have a weaker comp if in having a weaker comp you decide to that comp isn't technically that much weaker because you're good with that champ. A good example is, to be honest, we probably wouldn't need Taric this game. In general, we'd probably be a lot better served with another damager of some kind, or a support that'll help us a little bit more in certain areas, particularly some of the supports like Gazillion would really help us when we're trying to do jumps, because our team is pretty aggressive. Sona, the huge ult stun's always really great, but you know, our Taric player doesn't play those champs at all. So you know, he'll take Taric because that's a safe choice for him, and it's one of his better champs. And so it doesn't mess the comp up that much because, you know, there isn't really a serious issue with our comp here. But certainly there are slightly better options, but because of certain constraints with the player, it comes down that way. That's also another thing you should keep in mind when you're trying to pick team comps. Make sure you